Welcome to Beyond the Page, the official podcast of Choice, the magazine of professional coaching, where we bring you amazing insights and in depth features that you just won't find anywhere else. I'm your host, Gary Schleifer, and I'm excited to expand your learning as we dive into the latest article, have a chat with this brilliant author behind it, and uncover the learnings that are transforming the coaching world. When you have a chance, join our vibrant community of coaching professionals as we explore groundbreaking ideas, share expert tips and techniques, and what we love to do, make a real difference in our clients' lives. This is your go to resource for all things coaching. But for now, let's dive in. In today's episode, I'm speaking with leadership and executive coach Sanaz Kalantari, who is the author of an article in our latest issue, The Power of Choice. One of my favorite sayings, by the way. This article is entitled Reclaiming Agency, Designing Empowered Conversation for Choice in an Unpredictable World. A little bit about Sanaz. She holds an ACC and an ELI-MP. She's a leadership and executive coach who helps clients cultivate awareness, agency, which she writes about in her article, and intentional self-leadership. With more than 25 years in global technology companies working at the intersection of business impact, capability building, and leadership development, she brings a deep understanding of how people grow, adapt, and lead. Her most recognized work includes leading the design and delivery of a global coaching initiative at Microsoft. Congratulations. A program dedicated to democratizing coaching that was honored with a 2025 ICF Impact Award and a Guinness World Record. Wow. She is the founder of Mastering Mindset and serves as a director on the board of ICF Australasia. Sanaz, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for
Great,
having me.
great to have you. And okay, so let's just go back to this bio, which I wanted to know was the program at Microsoft what you got the award for, or those two different things?
Well, Microsoft received the award. I had the honor of being one of the code leads on the program when I was at Microsoft previously. And yes, it was an impact award by ICF through that bringing democratizing coaching, and it was a coaching that was offered through external partners as well as a coaching center of excellence of internal ICF certified and trained coaches. And the focus was really to help employees across many parts of the world in Microsoft sales organization to feel empowered about their career choices. So the idea was, how can we help people through the complexities of the organization, using coaching as a learning vehicle and technology, so people feel like they have they can drive and design their own career rather than kind of be at the mercy of what is happening in the organization. So it was a highly successful. It was in partnership with Ezra as well as a lot of our coaching. A lot of our coaches internally. And yeah, it was. I was part of the team. I was one of the main leaders of leading the program across the organization.
Wow.
And yes, and
Amazing. And I waved because I've been coaching Microsoft employees for as long as I've been with Ezra. And I had just started
no
another
way,
one today. Yeah, I know. And one of our
we
writers
did
and
not.
colleague, yeah, we did not plan this. One of our fellow writers and podcast guests, Jonathan Passmore, is a vice president
Yes,
of Ezra. And
yes, I know Jonathan. I know Jonathan.
so small, too funny, like around the world, from the UK to Australia and back to Canada.
Yes,
I love it.
yes.
That's
It's
too
no,
funny.
it was I do there's definitely some public articles on the program. So if anyone's interested,
Yeah.
there's definitely a great amount of insights that we gained through our partnership with Ezra and our internal coaches back then. Yes.
Yeah, and still, I'm sure Jonathan's no slouch when it comes to writing and studies, so he's
Yes.
on it. That's funny. Well,
Yes.
Sanaz, what inspired you to write the article at this time? What called to you?
I have been a huge fan of Choice magazine. I actually found the first Choice magazine issue that I have here from 2010, believe it or not.
Oh, the coach. Oh my
Yes.
goodness, I love that one. Thank you.
So I think it's been on my bucket list to write for Choice, and the prompt this time was really I think was quite inspiring for me. I feel like I've spent, it's at the heart of what we do as coaches to design empowering conversation or help people feel empowered. I feel like that's the essence of what we do in coaching.
Mhm.
So I think it was definitely a great invitation. And throughout a lot of my work in the professional world with tech organizations and leaders and professionals, I feel like this is really the time that things are changing so fast. Feel people do feel like the speed of change, or where they are requires them to feel much more empowered. So I think the idea of designing empowering questions and using coaching as a technique was really inspiring for me, and I really wanted to bring my thoughts together, play around with a few concepts which you see in the article, and give some examples of how what works for me as a coach and what I've seen be quite influence that power of change that people go through and feel a little bit more authors of their story rather than feeling continuously feeling like life is happening to them, but
Yeah.
how can we change that into life is happening by you. So that
Yeah.
idea was really interesting for me. So yes,
Right.
so that's what inspired me to write this.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for writing for Choice. And don't forget to write again. Um, uh, but I'm going to work on a particular aspect of the conversation about coaching, and that is being empowering. Why do people feel less empowered today, even though we have more options than ever before?
It's a conundrum, isn't it? And
Right?
we continuously come up to this where we feel like even when we talk about change, change is supposed to be helping us get somewhere better. So, a lot of people are saying, oh, the speed of change. But most people, we see at work, or as soon as you say, how are you? It's usually a sigh, or if they feel like, oh, once I finish this, then, I feel a little less busy, or it's so busy I don't have time to do this, or I can't, or you continuously hear this language that it reveals the inner state of what people are actually experiencing. So yes, we have many choices on the surface by the looks of things, and we continuously put more options, and I think that's an innate nature that we create more options. However, when we're observing even ourselves or a lot of people as they're going through changes, they feel like they don't have a choice, or they are paralyzed by choices, or this idea of they don't know which option is the best. We see that in careers a lot of the time when we see people are thinking about their career. The feeling that they bring to the sessions or to the conversations is that I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. And then
Yeah.
when you explore that, you realize that they have plenty of options and choices. But it's a conundrum, and it feels like it's a psychological survival instinct that has kicked in, or kicks in most of the time when we are either overwhelmed or we haven't slowed down,
Yeah.
and it's our nervous system that it's having a reaction. I often say it's almost like the nervous system is having a workout. All of a sudden, we're at the gym and it's like going into all sorts of directions.
Yeah. Well, you said that really quite well and it really resonated that there's so many choices, but perhaps too many choices, right? I'll point our listeners to the article in case they haven't listened to it. What you just spoke about, I have no choice, is under the key learning point sidebar, the have to trap. So when you're working with clients, you're finding out whether they're in this place that Sanaz is talking about. Listen for language like I must or I have no choice. This indicates a loss of autonomy and a shift into survival mode. I thought that's really well said. And I invite people to read the article, obviously. Um, Sanaz, what are some of the other ways that people give away their agency without realizing it?
Look, I think what is happening, people what's happening is we're either anxious about what's happening in the present moment, so we give our agency on, okay, we're not slowing down, or we don't evaluate our options. A lot of the times we give our agency by judging our past. So the feeling of shame and guilt sometimes robs our agency. And I wrote about that in the article as well. So as we explore what is really happening, the idea that I made a mistake in the past and now I'm so afraid, or I have judged that, and instead of using that as data to look at, well, what did I learn, or taking the time to reflect or reframe that whole experience in a way that we can ground it in a value that was served. I think that can really take away people's agency, where they feel like they don't have a choice because they believe that what they've done was not okay. And so I feel like that grounding in the past, in the shame, can actually rob us of our agency as well. And then the other one is not maybe not taking the time to evaluate what's in our control and what's not in our control,
Mm.
and putting our attention somewhere else. I think I talked about it in the sphere of influence in the article as well, which is the work from Stephen R. Covey as
Mhm.
well, the 7 Habits of Effective People. And I think that's a great tool to continuously ground ourselves into, um, where is our circle of control? Where is, we might be putting our attention into things that are, I call gravity problems as well, where then we don't feel like we have any agency. It's like we're looking in the wrong place for agency. We're looking
Okay.
in the wrong place for autonomy. The circle of concern where the weather is not working, or the things that are happening that are completely outside. Like, we are in an ocean and the waves are happening. Well, we can't change the wave, so we feel like we don't have agency on the wave. So I think understanding, or taking our time to understand what are the things that we have influence over, what are the things that we can actually control, can really kind of shift that energy. And I think energy is a huge one to really use as a diagnostic tool as well, to think about, okay, if I am losing my agency, or feel like I don't have agency, what does that energy feel like?
Mhm.
And where am I putting my energy in? So I would say yes. It's either we're overwhelmed with the present moment. If I was to summarize that, where we feel like lack of agency, we're either evaluating our past experiences or judging them,
Mhm.
or we're not necessarily looking at it, the right circle, part of the circle,
The circle and
control
that.
or influence. Yes.
Well, and thank you for bringing that in. That Stephen Covey. That's a great. Everybody knows that book too, I think. And to add to your point, what you were talking about, like where you feel it, how you feel it. One of the other ways, the key learning points, you said somatic inquiry, where a client feels trapped. Ask where they feel that restriction in their body. Naming a sensation helps regulate the nervous system. So it's a grounding moment, right? Is to stop and do that. And you gave a great example too with that client, the graphic designer, and how they were stuck and had to figure out where it was in their body and became something entirely different. So that was also excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's a great way for us. I learned that through years ago when I was going through a school of philosophy, where we learned how to ground ourselves. And when that feelings of overwhelm comes, and our thoughts are racing, to really kind of think about where we're putting our feet, on the ground, or focus on our breath. I think most of us have heard how important it is to focus on the breath. And I'm finding that in the corporate world, in the big organizations, we hardly do that.
Hmm.
My son actually went to a school here in Australia where they pause. So one of the habits that they have is they pause. So this was in primary school. So before they start the school, they pause and they have a mantra, and they feel the breathing in their body. And then when they finish lessons, they also pause. We don't do that enough in our adult
No,
world. So we
just
race
keep
through
going.
stuff. Yes, and then it only takes a couple of things, a big moments in life to also happen to us. We have to make a move, and that graphic designer was one of my clients, where had to go through a massive move, And then all of a sudden, you also have health flare ups. You've got something going on with a friend, you've got work, you've got all of these happening. So the body is having a huge reaction. We tend to ignore that, where we don't pause to evaluate what is happening in the body. So I think one of the things I'm also finding in in the craziness of change that we typically go to be able to pinpoint that feeling in the body or where it is gives that space to people to really kind of pause and name that. And a lot of the times, what we're trying to do in coaching is create
Mm.
some space to
Breathe.
reconnect with the body, breathe, um,
Pause.
pause. Maybe it's a good time to do that. Pause and uh, and evaluate what is happening. So we do allow the mind or that energy to be shifted to a place where choices open up. Reality of the options are for us to look into, whether it's our perception of the situation that needs to change, or we might actually have some choices and autonomy to change aspects of the situation.
Mm.
So that was the somatic inquiry that I feel like is absolutely necessary, especially at that times where so many things are happening and our body is having also a reaction to it,
Mm.
which is a great signal for us. Just like the language of have to and
Yeah.
must to. So the audit of language is one thing, but the audit of the body is also super important. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you see these reactions, how do can coaches help their clients move from those reactions to conscious choice?
Absolutely. So I think these are some of the tools that I wanted to bring in that, and we all have these great toolkits in our, this
Don't
is not
we?
the end all and be all. I think we all have like plenty of books on our shelves and many of these frameworks and ways to bring awareness to our client. And I think the most important one is how do we bring awareness? So I think as we listen, as coaches, we listen to the language. We want to capture that moment. We want to capture that moment where we hear someone feel someone is expressing that something feels non-negotiable to them. So I have to, or I must, or uh, I don't feel like I have a choice. We want to capture that moment and bring awareness to that moment, and obviously we want to do it in a way that is helpful for them to go through. What are they assuming? What is it that they feel like is non-negotiable? So I think, as we know, awareness is the biggest um, the biggest moment that we can start moving clients from reaction to some sort of response that they
Right.
choose.
Right.
So questions that I think we all very good at asking open-ended questions, but what are you actually reacting to, or what
Mm.
is it that feels non-negotiable? Um, what is it that feels like protecting right now? So bringing that awareness and then helping them reconnect with that maybe circle of influence of what
Okay.
is in their control right now, what is in outside their control, and creating that space. I think coaches again we owe it to our clients and people who are we are in the conversation with to create that space to help them understand what's in their control and what's not in their control. And then the other one, the last one is to be able to help them restore choice. I
Mm.
think in this article we talk a lot about, yeah, how do we design that empowering conversation from the beginning of helping with awareness, helping them understand the impact of
Hmm.
what is happening, and then helping them shift and restore to choices that they have. Yeah.
Wow, brilliant. Great framework. And I have to say that I touched on some of those things, and I think it's as a result of reading your article so many times, because every article gets read at least four times before it gets published, right? And then once more before I join the call. And I think it's been in my head because when you talk about circle of control or what you can control, I just finished a conversation with one of my clients because he's in extreme overwhelm. and he's overwhelmed. His values are not being honored, and it was about taking a deep. We literally took a deep breath, and I asked him questions like, what are you still in control over? What do you have control? Where do you have control? And so, I guess I'm channeling you and your wisdom today. So thank you
Oh,
for that.
that's great. I'm so happy to hear that. And
Yeah,
we deal with this all the time. I think I at the moment almost every conversation I have, whether it's at work or with a client,
yeah,
it seems to be scratching this particular topic in some way or the other, which is why I think as we started this conversation, I I was drawn into writing about this topic because it is really at the heart of everything that we do as coaches, whether it's a career or we have an executive, wanting to expand their career, or someone is feeling like they are at a crossroad.
right.
It's that feeling, it's usually at that energy and that feeling that they either feel like they have the potential to move out of. That's why they are coming and seeking help, but they feel like they're stuck somewhere. So it's that feeling of stuckness. And I think I totally relate the feeling of stuckness with feeling disempowered, not feeling like you have agency or you have autonomy. And so our job becomes how can we help this intelligent and wise person
Mhm.
to get out of that stuckness and feel like they are empowered and move through their own path.
For their own. And I just loved what you said in the article. The feeling of being trapped is not just uncomfortable, it's psychological malnutrition. I thought that was brilliant. Well said. Thank you, Sanaz.
Yeah, and that was very interesting because I was doing some study on the science of the what happens in the brain. And so it happens that yes, when we are feeling trapped, when we are in that survival, and I'm not a neuroscientist, so I won't go through the details of how the brain works, but my understanding of the neuroscience is that it actually does take a lot of energy to help us to go through that survival. So it is a little bit of a malnutrition if you really think about it. When you're not getting the right nutrition, which is empowerment, and it is based on self-determination theory. We That is an actual basic
Yeah,
need that we have.
need, yeah.
So it's almost like all the psychological energy and the brain energy goes into helping us restore that. So it is psychologically malnutrition when we feel like we're disempowered. So I thought that was actually
That's
very
great. Well, thank you for the
interesting.
background on that. Yeah, no kidding. Oh, Sanaz, thank you so much. What would you like our audience to do as a result of the article in this conversation?
Look, I would love for people to read it and obviously play around with the ideas and some of the frameworks. And
Mhm.
these are quite simple frameworks. However, I think our clients can really benefit from that. I do have a guide as well, which is just kind of breaks it up into five different sections of how coaches could use some questions, some
Mm.
open-ended questions that they could
Oh,
notice the language. When you notice the language, what questions can you ask
yeah.
that really help bring awareness. When you shift from you want to help someone shift from reaction to awareness, what are some of the questions you can ask them? And the circle of control, how can you ask empowering questions to help someone move through that, as well as restoring choice and this idea of moving from obligation to ownership. So we listen for language and signals and energy that helps someone move through that. So I would love the audience to read the article, use the guide, and hopefully that would be super helpful. I would also ask if we're working in organization, a lot of the times we're dealing with change and change management. And there's tons of change management frameworks that we're all following. I think what's missing is this piece a lot of the times that we tend to maybe underestimate. We talk a lot about what's in it for me. We need to let people know what's in it for me so they have the intrinsic motivation so they can move through the change themselves. But how do we know if they are stuck somewhere, and how do we help them
Right.
unlock that? So what's in it for them is much more intrinsic, and then motivation can kind of
Yeah.
surface. Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
So
Thank you. And so, what's the best way to reach you, Sanaz?
I am on LinkedIn. I am on LinkedIn. That's
Perfect.
probably the best way to reach me. I'm also on Instagram. I have sent my Instagram page, so
There
LinkedIn,
we go.
Instagram, or my website masteringmindset.com.au.
.au because you're in
AU
AU,
because I'm in
AU
Sydney,
land.
Australia. Yes.
That's great. Well, again, thank you so much for writing for us and for joining us for this Beyond the Page episode.
Thank you so much. I'm very grateful to be here.
That's it for this episode of Beyond the Page. For more episodes, subscribe via your favorite podcast app, most likely the one that got you here in the first place. If you're not a subscriber to Choice Magazine and you're watching this video, you can sign up for your free digital issue by scanning the QR code in the top right corner of my screen. If you are driving or listening only mode, get off that treadmill, go to choice-online.com and click the sign up now button. I'm Gary Schleifer. Enjoy the journey of mastery.